turn my camera on in a bit.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Starting up the Wednesday Sangha call. It's the 18th. I wasn't sure who was going to intro, so I just popped in. If this does get uploaded, you know.
Yes.
So, but yeah, we were just talking a little bit about getting out into nature to practice anapanasati and investigating Dharma. So I don't know if you wanted to share again, Paitra, a bit more about your
So
experience.
basically, today I was blessed, had the opportunity to spend some time in nature, take a small hike from our house into the woods. And, after 10 to 15 to 20 minutes hike, there are plenty of spots where one can sit and meditate. Like I really enjoy places where there are like trees and bushes that I feel pretty much surrounded by by vegetation, like by not just trees, but also like how to say tall bushes, so that I feel also like I feel that my head touches some green, pretty much surrounded, hugged by vegetation, and it's pretty cool. I like that setting, and yeah. So basically, I felt pretty lucky, having the opportunity to be in nature, and also like being feeling the aliveness of the woods, of the forest, this alive stillness of the forest. And I found myself also like very open to a sort of inquiry about my relationship with nature, because I think about all the time about what does it mean to be in a state of almost through nature for my own mind, but also like the nature itself. It's a very close concept to this true nature of oneself, because when we are out in the nature, it's like it's it's untouched, unconditioned still. And so it is really near, if not it is actually the representation of true nature of oneself. And so like spending time in the nature, and also catching with the rhythm of the forest, of the wood, I like become open almost with this relaxed view, if one has the eyes open, that it's really taking in everything, and so it's really a sort of training one can go through when there are birds and sounds and bugs, flies, and so on. And so like it was a training for me, try to see how much my attention could be indiscriminate. Like there is a side that reacts and like labels and so on, and a side that is more nature prone, that like just registers what's happening, and like it's not really reactive, but still there is a sense of connectedness with what is going on. It's not like a non-reaction that is um, not not participating, but like it follows the rhythm of the nature of the environment it's in. And so I also asked to myself uh, after being born in a society, I spent some time in the nature myself when I was little and growing up and so on. But also my mindset with the nature has changed a lot, and so I was asking is it possible to am I still connected with nature somehow? Can I reconcile with nature? Am I as human? Am I natural still, or I'm a total disconnected thing from this beautiful virgin-like environment that I find myself in? And so but this is also while doing anapanasati and stuff and so on. But in uh, in all the 3 sessions I had in the nature, I then there came a moment when I said, okay, it's cool, I'm satisfied, I can go back home now. And even interacting with people and looking at it was really for 1 hour, half an hour, 1 hour each time. And all the time I came back, I was also looking at my own domestic pets. It was really a different approach, because it was such a full immersion experience that really changed me a bit each time. It was very intense. And so I was contemplating how with this remembrance of the experience of the immersion in the nature, I felt I had tapped a bit into a different kind of knowledge that is more it follows more the rhythm of the nature itself, of the woods itself, of the forest itself. And so it was really kind of a different approach. Even then a lot of things happened. A lot of different kind of inquiries and thoughts happened in reaction to that thing. But I promised myself if I could to spend at least half an hour, 1 hour a day in the nature. I promise this to myself, because I find that uh, it has always been, but now together with anapanasati breathing, it's becoming vital to me to meditate, but in the nature. When I'm at home, it's total different thing.
Yeah, it is nice. It's very conducive, I find, to practice. Also, welcome, Rick and Alexander. Glad to see you.
Hey, DJ, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. Getting the Wednesday calls going again.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been enjoying going. Kind of like you said, Petra. For you, you've got a place that's rather close where you can just kind of go out into nature and enjoy that. And behind my house, there's a little wooded forest, and there's a nice little trail there. So I've actually started practicing walking meditation. So I've been actually even before I go to work, I'll get up and even go for a half hour or something and practice the walking meditation, kind of taking the slow steps and becoming aware of the breath and the steps, and working with wholesome thoughts and playing around and experimenting with that. And it's been really nice, and it is quite conducive. I find it's nice to have both sort of practices, where one practices getting out into nature and really experiencing that, and it's still good to practice at home or indoors as well in those conditions, because sometimes we can't get out. But it is nice when we have the opportunity, and it is quite conducive to just appreciate that natural beauty. I see you're out there, Alex. Got a big tree behind you.
Yeah. I think it's wonderful to see the connection between the instructions, the formal instructions given by the Buddha, and our ability to enter seclusion. I think that's a really cool thing to key in on. Like you said, Pietro, when you're in seclusion, your practice of anapanasati is different from when you're not in seclusion. And I think that's a really nice thing to take notice of, is because we're looking to have a refuge that's available to us at all times. That's available to us in any conditions, this refuge. And I think that when we look at how we normally concoct our refuges, compared to how seclusion itself can be a refuge, and what remains constant between the two, we get little indicators as to how to better construct those refuges. I think that's a really, really cool thing that you took notice of, Pietro. I really thank you for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Sorry for the beeping. There's vehicles nearby me.
Oh.
I'm not as secluded as it seems.
Something that came up since last Wednesday, Piero was talking about independence in our practice. And my mind contemplated that considerably. And I found that where I am in life and with the practice, there's a lot of responsibility to maintain my own base of independent manifestation, like in relationship and when I encounter others. But I've found Piero's disclosures highly conducive to happiness. I think when we spoke before, some of the things that my mind was ruminating about or trying to catch me with was related to ways I'd let that go, kind of when my practice wasn't as strong as it could have been. And now that I've returned to strong practice, I do see there's that aspect that we are in interconnection, and we are interconnected to everything, everyone else. At the same time, there is a sense of responsibility and independence that this practice gives us. I think for me, there's a distinction between physical seclusion or seclusion from the world and mental seclusion that we gain in the practice. And I spoke with an ordained monk friend of Bhante Prasasuk, and right away he realized, and we've only spoken probably a handful of times on the telephone. We spoke earlier this morning, and he realized that sometimes I sell my own confidence short.
yes, like continuing about the nature and practice in the nature. We talked about seclusion, which like I actually how to say, underestimated the value of seclusion myself, because sometimes I would like I would just go in a park, or even if crowded, in a crowded park, or in a shared house, just in the living room on the sofa. I was like also a bit challenging for myself. Like I found it that entertaining to like just try to be still in difficult situation. Like, but then I realized that I didn't have to do that, because there is the possibility actually of seclusion, which is a really good point, because um, no, the approach to meditation is the same, but what I what I get out of it, it's different, in the sense that before maybe I practiced meditation because I wanted to be a better man in society. But at the same time, as I developed my practice of meditation, I realized that actually there's not much left that I can get from the so-called society situation. I mean, uh, I think about many social contexts that I was used to in the last years, and actually people hang out, and there'll be some alcohol or some other things and so on. But like, as soon as I started practicing on my own, I saw that I didn't feel the urge anymore to go out and look for certain things. So like I discovered seclusion at the same time. I like, so the purpose of meditation now is becoming just like spending time in seclusion with no mean to get out and do something and achieve something. Just like meditation for the sake of meditation itself, because I feel the benefit immediately in terms of oxygenation and relaxing, and like with seclusion, there's like really not. I realized that this kind of fractal way that it's been a while since I don't really entertain conversation, like dialogues in my mind between different figures of my life, but at first it was really easy for me to get into some kind of conversation in my mind, like simulating some kind of future conversation that could happen and so on. And then I stopped entertaining them all bit by bit. But then there is a whole underworld to it, like, because our main mind is made of with these connections. All of these connections are equal to all the conversations we had and all the patterns we developed. And so actually one discovers that even spending more time in seclusion, like now you remove the world outside, and there is a whole world that is equally infinite inside of your mind. And so like, but the lucky thing is that this won't drive you crazy, because now you know that your object of meditation is the breath all the time, and so you have this anchor. with you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, where do I go from here? That now that I have all these sort of insights, it's still the breath. It's still the object of the breath. So like this is this could vary, is solid, is liquid, and so on. But the main thing is that you are anchored to the breathing, and so like then all the kinds of investigation can go on while you breathe.
Yeah, it's nice for grounding, just to keep coming back and waking up to like what is happening now. Because I think too it goes to what you were saying, Brett, too, about like seclusion, both physically, but then there's also the mental seclusion. So we can get out into the woods, there can be no one around, but due to old memories coming up or whatever, we might catch ourselves in an argument with somebody who's not even there. So by coming back to the breath and being like, oh, wakey, wakey, and then just waking up again and again and training that skill, we see that. And we're like, oh, wait, no, we're in this lovely forest right now. Or even if we're not in a forest, oh, we're just enjoying breathing. Okay, this is nice. Or we can even change the way that, we feel about whomever we're arguing with. May they be happy, may they be well. We can.
Goodwill.
Yeah, goodwill. Yeah.
Goodwill. Yeah, and
Drop
that doesn't
ill
mean,
will.
yeah. And that doesn't mean can they keep walking all over me. That doesn't mean can they keep doing all the evil things. It means can they wake up?
Yeah.
Because that's the big difference. A lot of people will look at like loving kindness meditation, meta meditation, and they'll take it in a really superstitious way.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's really doing this, that's really doing that. But what we're really wishing is just the same as we wish for all beings, is just the ability to be free.
Yeah.
The ability to recognize your birthright. The ability to recognize that when I'm in seclusion, the mind still encounters mental objects, and that still presents in my experience. So then I don't have to be superstitious when I come out of seclusion and be like, oh, I'm having these thoughts because this is happening, and start identifying and taking ownership of all of these naturally occurring phenomena. And I know they're naturally occurring because when I seclude myself in nature, well, they still occur. And so I don't have to make up a big story anymore when I come out of seclusion, mental seclusion or physical seclusion. We don't have to. It's just doing its own thing anyways, So we don't have to be there in the way that we thought we had to be there. It's such a wonderful relief when you realize the danger of picking up hot things, of picking up things that don't belong to us.
Mm-hmm.
and walking around with them as if they are ours, as if they are us, which is even a more wilder supposition when we go down the train of logic that we get to actually watch in action when we sit in seclusion. Is we don't just believe that they're ours, we believe that they are us. So we've placed all these different conditions on our experience now that are saying all these different things, when really it's just like this, whatever it is. Which is such a beautiful, beautiful realization. It's a beautiful realization to watch the mind do what the mind does, and to recognize it's just the mind watching the mind. There's no need for a self. There's no need for any of the things that we normally stuff a bunch of files and papers into and carry around and make us feel important like a briefcase. And if we don't give a crap about the files anymore, why are we carrying the briefcase still? So
yeah.
So
We wake up and we're
so wonderful. Sorry, what? Yeah, wake up.
Yeah, no, we just wake up and we realize, oh yeah, why are we carrying this briefcase? And then we can put it back down. The mind might, stumble into delusion again, but then we wake up and we go, okay, cool. Drop the briefcase.
Long.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
This is nature's briefcase.
You get it monogrammed. Nature's briefcase. I like it. Oh, man. And it gets even easier, too, when we come out of seclusion and we find that there are others that are coming out of seclusion, that are waking up, and when we see others that are waking up and seeing things as they are, man, what a good time. Every Wednesday at noon Pacific time, how wonderful. And what is it, Saturday at whatever time it was on Saturday, that was so wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's the great thing to recognize, is the simplicity of it all.
Yeah, but it's wonderful to have friends to share with. Yeah.
Yeah, because it really seems to be a big, important part of the whole package, is to have the friends to share with.
Yeah.
It really is.
A nice element. Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, I used to have a lot of fears when I was younger about being alone. That was always something I held in my mind, when I had a whole bunch of stuff in it there to hold. It was, I'm going to be alone, or I was alone, or I am alone, or someone was going to leave me alone, something like that, And it replayed all kinds of weird ways in all kinds of weird situations. And every time I've ever clung to the thought or to the feeling, as it played out, like, oh, this is me, this is mine, I'm alone, this is happening. Oh, it never worked out positively. It often I found I was getting in my own way. So it's a wonderful thing to realize we can put those things down, and to be able to do that in the company of others, and understand that, I mean, the whole supposition that kind of pushed it along in the beginning to begin with is the idea that someone can be alone. Like Pietro, you talked earlier about connection, interconnection, and Brett, you talked about responsibility and interconnection. And I think that those things are such wonderful themes to carry forward in the mind. I think they're really noble themes, connection and responsibility. Whether that responsibility comes across in the way that we do it, or I know we've talked about before, duty to the Dhamma. We talk about the noble truths as being duties, recognizing, understanding, suffering, all these sorts of things. So it's such wonderful themes in our conversation today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
What a nice reframe, right? You have, oh no, I'm alone, and now you're like, oh boy, I'm alone. Totally different, isn't it? It's the same situation,
or even
but different different
the
perspective.
concept that I could just do concept that I in my own way by considering myself to, or by fabricating the concept that I'm somehow alone. I could be in my way that way.
Uh-huh. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It's I remarked to Bante today that, am I too much of a recluse? Do I have a responsibility to get out more? And, he admitted, he felt a little bit that way too. But, he's all the time going places, doing service. And I told him, I said, what all I'm looking for is just more instruction.
Yeah.
So spending time with him, going out to I admitted that just driving out to the Wat was a practice for me. All the ways that Mara tries to arise to convince me not to drive to the Wat. It's about a 45-minute drive from where I live, but it's always worth it when he's not there.
Right. Yeah. So you've got something better than what he has on offer. It's amazing. And that's a very good point too, when you talk about driving to the Wat being a practice. It's part of practicing being happy, right? Part of seeing the path is seeing what, when I do it, leads to my long-term well-being. What, when I do it, leads to my long-term suffering. And you see past what Mara has on offer, and you see what is available to us right here, right now. That's amazing. And earlier you talked about selling yourself short on confidence too. I think this is part of the reason we have to develop it as a factor, right? It's a factor of awakening. It's one of the supporting factors there. So many amazing lists that the Buddha prescribed for us, and that's certainly a prime contender for top of the list of lists, on the wings of awakening. So that's so it's great because when you share with us how you do it, we get it, and it's amazing to do that all together. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
That'd be a pretty good band name, On the Wings of Awakening.
Would it be?
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I'd see them.
Yeah, me too.
I'd see them. I'm gonna go see the Wings of Awakening this Friday. Yeah. Their shows are very enlightening.
Right. Oh.
Mm. Yeah, they got a couple members, Shamatha and Vipassana.
A lot of great qualities.
Yeah. No, because I know that those are sometimes brought up, but kind of as like the two sort of wings, right? Is the
Yeah.
calming and also the clear sight. Yeah.
And they support each other.
Yeah.
Two sticks, we can't really have samadhi without being able to see, the way things are. It's kind of difficult. As a matter of fact, the harder it becomes to see the way things are, the harder it is to get the mind into a state of collectedness or composure, whatever you'd like to call it. The less clear sight taking place, the less ability to calm down. And they balance each other, which is why we have to train in both, right? Developing and abandoning.
Yeah.
So if we can develop the ability to calm, then naturally clear sight can come with that, so long as we remember to look. Without one or the other, they can become unbalanced. We can look about at things a little differently than maybe the path intended for them to come out, I suppose, if we can ascribe intention to it. I guess we can ascribe intention to any element of the path. So that's a big part of what we're doing, holding an intention to come back to the breath and observing when we wander from it, why that happened.
Yeah. It's nice. I mean, I have real confidence in Anapanasati and like being the complete package.
Yes, absolutely. It's amazing when you start to practice it. It's beautiful because it builds itself up. We hear about it, we do it, we see it, we talk about it, we keep doing it. And what I notice is the thing that strikes me the most as of late has been this part of it where the Buddha will talk about not even just the tetras and the 16 steps, all the, mechanical portions, but rather just this portion where he talks about it. It is a complete package. And when you do it continuously, it leads to full release, full knowledge and release, clear knowledge. And I think it's amazing to talk about going from seclusion, out of seclusion, into seclusion, going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And when we first pick up the pieces of the path and we start trying to put them together in our own lives, I know for me, a lot of times it was, hey, this is when I do this. This is when I do that. I started having all these conditions that I was recognizing just in thinking about whether or not I was going to practice, and after a while, it becomes a little easier to see like, oh, you're always doing it one way or another, right? You're always breathing one way or another until you're dead. We know that that's about when that stops for this thing. And so like, why not practice continuously, develop it completely? And when you start to practice it continuously, more and more of the steps start to make sense as far as, oh, there's a reason he said practice it. Sorry, I have a spider friend. There's a reason we do it continuously, because when I'm sitting there and I'm participating in the first portion, and I'm getting good, and then I walk outside and all of a sudden mental fabrications are, rising and such, and I'm recognizing them and seeing, oh, this is what we do when we practice it continuously. We don't have to really do much of anything different. Just have to kind of stop keeping track. Let it come up. And like you were saying, Pietro, it's your anchor. You know what I mean? Anchor is the breath. It's always there for us, right? So nearby to the mind. It's such a good looking glass for the mind and the body, so we can come back and bring them together again and use samatha and vipassana in those moments. And we start to think about vipassana only being one part of any of those steps of anapanasati, and it's there in all of them. It's all baked into itself. Like you talked about fractals.
Yeah, that's how. Oh, you can go ahead, Brett.
just smiling.
Yeah, the
Excellent news.
I was gonna say the fractal thing really resonates in terms of anapanasati, because like sometimes it feels like, you know, if we're going into steps and it's like they kind of go around each other.
Yeah. Like you talked about before, them being dance steps.
Yeah.
Pretty dances.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really cool way to think about it, because it breaks up some of the ways that we normally think about it. When I see that someone has taught something important and they put numbers next to the steps, I automatically think, oh, well, you know, this is my conditioning. I should do it 1 through 16, 1 through 16. And if I'm not doing it 1 through 16, I'm having trouble. I don't know how to do it. Right? So
Yeah.
then when we start to look at it in the way that you're talking about, then we realize, oh, yeah, okay, it's music. We can do that. This might be one note. This is how we can play this other note, maybe.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
like
know
learning
about music
scales
myself.
and chords and all that. You're like, yeah, and getting it down. I think too, I know you I think it was last Saturday there, Alex, you were talking though about like, again, it can still be done in sequential order. Like I enjoy practicing like that sometimes too. But what's interesting is even step one, you know, breathing in long, I know I am breathing in long. And breathing out long, I know I am breathing out long. You know, that can still have, you know, if we're kind of bringing that to mind, almost like a mantra, that can have a gladdening element. You know, we're aware of the
Yeah.
mind, we're gladdening the mind, we're practicing
Right.
multiple steps. We can even notice the gaps in both, you know, the phrasing of that, and then
Yeah.
also the sensations themselves of breath. So there's like actually the last tetrad in there,
Yeah.
just
Right.
practicing, you
All
know,
in
with
one
the first.
step.
Yeah.
And that right there, DJ, is more than enough to give me the same confidence you talk about. It's a complete package.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful realization. It gives me such joy. How nice and easy. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that point. Yeah, because it is all in there, because that's a mental fabrication too. You know, so when we talk about, you know, Veda Nupassana, when we talk about Chitta Nupassana, Dhamma Nupassana, all of it is there. And I think it's probably part of the show to recognize that, huh? That was pretty cool. And to share Dhamma with others like we're talking about too. I had a great experience of sharing Dhamma with a friend of mine I hadn't seen in a long time. And, you know, one of the things that he had asked me is just, what's different? You know, why do you act differently? Oh, let's talk about it. I love to talk about it. You know, and so now we have more people in the local area that'll come together and talk about Dhamma as well. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that is one.
Wow.
And now it's all in step one, you know what I mean? If you really look at it long, you know what I mean? And it just grows, just like a tree. Seed has the entire tree in it.
Yeah, people get curious if you simply say to them, and of course, honestly say to them, they ask you how you're doing, and instead of the rote answer, "Oh, I'm fine" or "I'm good," you say, "Oh, I'm calm, and I don't have any stress." And they go, "How? How do you not have any stress?"
Are you some
And
kind of wizard?
yeah, I mean, that really wakes people up, just that.
Yeah.
And they suddenly, because that's not an expected answer, and it's not like you're bragging, like, I don't have any
Right.
stress. You're actually saying it in a truthful way, right?
Yeah.
And then the next thing is, well, how do you accomplish that? I say, well, let me tell you.
Right. Right.
I watch the breath
Yes.
and I'm aware of the present moment. And you
Yeah.
go, oh, so you're talking about meditation. Indeed, I am. It's just a few easy steps right to opening the Dhamma door, even if you know, without, you know, trying to push anybody through, because it's
Right.
like, wow, that sounds really fantastic. You seem like you're on a vacation when you're not. You're clearly not. And so, yeah, that's a simple simple
Yeah.
ladder to get them over.
And so then what we see then is even in that first step of Anapanasati, it's so incredibly complete. It even carries its own advertising material.
That's right. It's seamless and
I
effortless,
like
right?
that.
Right. How amazing.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Right. Like it propagates all on its
Well,
own. All it takes is for it to get some roots down.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
I realized yesterday, my wife works in the medical field, and for the longest time, and I think probably about 5 years, I was spanning the spectrum from passive to actively complaining. Her eating up all her paid leave on sickness, or my sickness, hers, whatever it was. And then yesterday, I just came to the realization I don't care if we don't really ever take a physical vacation again, because we're always on vacation. We're content, and that is something that I had memorized as a not so solidification, and it's not true. That point of contention doesn't exist anymore.
That's good. That's good.
And I
You
had no
see
way to say that.
you see the social conditioning that, oh, we should be taking a vacation in this traditional manner, right? And that's just those social expectations playing up, and for their own particular reasons, for measurements of success, for measurements of like economics or whatever. And that's really good seeing. That's a really good
Speeding.
insight to recognize. Wow, it really does come down to a state of mind and perspective. And yeah, you could be on vacation in the very next breath. The very next breath.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Why wait? Why wait until this forever moment of like, oh, once I XXYZ, then I'll be. No, that never works out. It's never, because it says then the next goal goes in front of you. Oh, but wait until this next thing. No. Too many future plans and goals to conditions, we'll say, future conditions
Yeah.
to be perfectly happy when, hey, there's no need for that. Not at all.
Yeah, casting concrete around my ankles now and now and now.
Mhm.
Yup.
And it's free too. Like, I mean, not
Yeah.
for nothing, but it's absolutely free. Like
Yeah.
breathing in and breathing out, Anapanasati, that's it's free.
Yeah. And like you talked about, Brett, with a duty. Like when the employer doesn't give you a cell phone but expects you to answer the calls. But you have the cell phone and the calls. They're there for you. They're all paid for. It's all good and taken care of. I like what you were saying about unlinking success economically from safety as well, from a feeling of well-being, taking that connection apart.
Right. Able to disentangle the social conditioning from what is actually necessary is it can be it can take some time, but once you're there, then it's a very, very freeing. You say, oh, that's not actually like a universal truth. That's just a social desire, cultural desire that's been programmed in from an early age. It's like, oh, I can detach from that and let that go finally. And if people are shocked. It's like, well, but I didn't need your validation anyway. Like that's
What that
you're
gave to
part
you?
of society. Like you're trying to connect, put me back in that little crab cage. And I'm like, no, man, I'm out. Like I'm out. you know, you know how they pull each other down,
Yeah,
and
right.
that whole
Yeah.
deal. It's like, oh no, claws off. I'm on the wings of awakening, brother. Claws off, claws off.
It's amazing. That's awesome. Ooh, that bumps me up. That's a very good way to look at it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's been a few years now that I've been able to have a noticeable difference about not chasing after validation at every turn from students or family or strangers or the opposite sex or whatever. Wow, it's a quite freeing feeling to
It
not
is, huh?
worry about that. Talk about confidence, right? It's the whole thing about needing confidence or not needing confidence. Once you are at a point where validation from others means about this much,
Yeah.
then confidence is not even a question anymore,
Right.
right? Because
You
you
see
don't
how
need
you
it for
fabricate
anything. Like
Uh-huh.
it's not even needed. You just do the actions necessary, and onlookers can continue to look on, right? It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Because their
Absolutely.
opinions will change anyway. Whether you get their validation in one moment doesn't mean you'll have it in the next. And then what are you running after?
Yeah. More
That's right
conditioning.
back to more conditioning, more social
More
programming,
conditions.
more
'Cause their
cultural.
validation is conditioned. My desire for their validation is conditioned.
Precisely.
It's not reliable. It's not satisfactory.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, if someone
like
wants to make that comment to me, it's like you're suffering under the impression that I care what you think. I don't. And not to be rude, but I don't.
yeah, mostly because we stop also, talking about it, like at least for me, I grew up that was an eternal conversation with peers and so on, like oh, this thing happened to me, what do you think about it? Also, if it wasn't explicit, like the request for knowing their opinion, like oh, this happened to me, what do you think about it? Or this I'm thinking this, what do you think about it? But also the answers is do not talk about it, but because there's nothing much left to talk about it, because
Yeah.
when I'm alone, I am enjoying the silence. Like experience is just what is, it's right here, right now, in the silence of nothing really happening. So like what when I'm with myself, I'm sharing this happiness, this silent happiness and enjoy right here, right now. So like, how are you? Oh, good. What have you been up to? Oh, nothing really much. Just happy here and now. you know.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And to people who don't know, that sounds very boring and monotonous,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But that's because they don't understand how enjoyable it really is, right? They don't understand it. hmm But that's okay, because then when I say, but I don't have any stress, then they get interested. Like,
Right.
oh, okay, how is that? Promise you won't be bored? I don't
Yep.
care if you're bored. I don't care if you're bored. It doesn't matter to me if you're bored with it or not. It's not my problem. It really isn't. Either way,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, you can listen not or not. I'll try. I'll certainly try.
Right.
It's part of my what you call a duty or responsibility
Yeah.
to give them to show them the door. But hey, we all have to walk through We all have to walk through it on our own, with our own steps, with our own will.
Yeah, right. It doesn't work any other way.
No.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. That's one of the most wonderful things about coming from that position of being okay, being calm, is when someone approaches and they talk and they want to know why this, why that, you could tell them, because it won't bother you one way or another. They can spit it out. They can call you a heretic. They could say whatever silly things they want to say. But it's beyond that level of concocting at that point, And so when we start to use it for validation, whether they're teachings or we use it, and I mean, when I talk about validation, I think we could go so far as to extend that to, taking in money in exchange for divvying out or levying out things like this in a way that is business-like, I guess, whatever you want to say. When we start using it in that way, even those can cause us to suffer, because then we have an attachment. Oh, this doesn't work, and you're a shitty teacher, and I hate it. I'll never send anybody your way, and you're probably lying about this, that, and everything else. And if we're attached to all of that, that comes along with it. We have our own reactivity to deal with. But we approach it from point of view of the practice. Approach it from sharing the Dhamma. It's just what it is. When they reject it, it's just another thing that is. Just what it is. Comes and it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it's a seed that'll bloom later, when other causes and conditions are sufficient. That's my thinking is, we'll put it in the pocket, wrapped in what did you use to sprout seeds in elementary school? You wrap them in toilet paper or something, little like bean seeds, and hope that their pants will get rained on later, so then the seed will come up. Maybe they won't even remember who gave it to them, but maybe it'll still come up for it.
Dhammarato used to call them Dharma bombs. They go up, but they go off later. Yeah, I remember, like during live meditation retreats, he would call them. If you don't get it now, don't worry, it'll go off later. I said a Dharma bomb. I was like, oh right, and boom,
That's real.
It's so good.
Blew my mind.
It's true.
There you go. I opened it right up. That's amazing. Yep. Now clear it all out.
Wow.
Well, I like this format, this passing it back and forth format. Yeah. Despite the whole trying to shy away from liking and disliking, I'll be honest. My ego enjoys this passing the ball around in a circle or a shape instead of so that's wholesome. That feels wholesome to me, without anyone claiming advancement other than just to share. So yeah, that's nice. I'll definitely be back to the chat group on a more regular basis. Yeah, I was MIA for a while, but yeah, I really enjoyed this type of easy, chilled out format without any major structure. So it's very good. It allows things to arise organically.
Yeah, glad you enjoyed. Yeah, we kind of like, I think before we normally throw on the recorder, like Petro and I or Brett or whoever's on, right, kind of come up with a little bit of a topic, like, but then it's just like a free form conversation that happens from that.
Yeah. And I recall that was more the format a couple of years ago, and I really personally benefit the most from that kind of thing. So yeah, I'll be back. But as far as it goes, guys, it was nice to chit chat with you, and I wish you lots of peace and joy, and probably we'll see you next week.
Good.
Thank you, Rick.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
I didn't realize we were recording.
Oh yeah, we were.
Whatsoever. Yeah. I'm actually very happy that went that way and that he pointed that out, because that's really cool. I think that it's also a really cool part of the practice. is we have to learn how to talk about this stuff. Otherwise, when the opportunity presents to drop Dhamma bombs, we don't get to, we don't get to share that. Right. So that's really cool. And I also think it goes back to what we talk about when we talk about real Dhamma teachings being true and from, this moment. You know what I mean? So that was really nice. I really like that you pointed that out. That was really cool to hear.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is nice. Again, I appreciate, these kind of getting rolling. Again, I don't know if I'm always available for them because it is after work and sometimes I have to stay a little bit later, but it's like, hey, just hopping on, it's nice. And I think that, it's nice that it's recorded. The ones on Skype, we're kind of doing the recordings for those, and maybe some Dhamma bombs I think were dropped today, so that's kind of
Good
nice.
stuff to have unrecorded.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But I think it's a very similar format though to like kind of how we were. I on the Saturday Sangha calls, that I'm doing on Discord, like just kind of open discussion. Some people might feel a bit more like talking. Sometimes people would just feel a bit more like listening. Like it's okay. It's just sort of like again an organic conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Pick my stuff up. I'm supposed to have a refrigerator repairman come around.
Ooh.
So I'm gonna check and see if they're around yet. Ooh. Yeah.
But I actually think I might head out. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I really do, appreciate everybody showing up. And again, I mean, I think it's like feel free to stay in the Skype for as long as you feel like,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll
I didn't know it'd been an hour.
Yeah, it's been about an hour, yeah.
Yeah, we can
I thought it'd been like 5 minutes. 10 minutes.
We can finish the call here if everybody agrees. Like for me, it's fine. It's been an hour, and so thank you everybody for being here in the call, and thank you DJ for starting the call. It was so cool.
DJ, thank you so much, and thank you so much, Sangha. I will talk to you guys again soon. You guys are wonderful. I had a great time.
Okay, guys.
Thank you,
friends.
Thank you, DJ.
Bye, friends.
Bye.